minute. I want you to sit and marinate with it. I'm going to try to talk slow. And the bottom line is, I want to give you some walkaways, ways that are basically out of the traditional norm of just thinking that counseling and talk therapy is going to work for everybody, and it doesn't. Some people actually lack the words. Some people actually talking about different things creates fear inside the body, and different things that their emotions are stored and stuck in their organs, and that is a part of Eastern medicine. Okay, so there are a lot of things. I also have to interject, if I'm ever using the right word, is that um, stored emotions, acupressure, just different things out there to release. Oh, healing, that's what I was going to say. Is I never even knew that there was something to heal. Okay, I've never done any professional talk therapy. All of my stuff has kind of been all of my holistic, from my holistic world and vault, and really diving deep, and it goes beyond herbs. It actually goes into flower essences, vibrational medicine, sound healing, self-defense slash martial arts, these different things that are fulfilling to our souls, and also kind of understanding the benefits of learning self-worth. When I say that, I mean understanding the difference between that and self-esteem. So you can have a low sense of self-worth, but be confident, say that in your abilities. That's what I would say. Like, you're good at something, right? But that is different than your place and purpose in the world. Sounds confusing. And I was very confused for a long time about that topic. So let's get into today. I didn't give you, okay, so I gave you personal examples of from my own life. I'm going to give you example now of the situation that inspired this episode. Okay, I am at almost 15 minutes. I got to write this down because I have to go back and write notes of where I started each area. So I told you that the focus of this is basically the bottom line mindset, people, because I'm all about personal empowerment. This is looking out for yourself, okay? Knowing you can hold your own and when to take things seriously. I think a lot of us need to stop lying to ourselves about a lot of different things in life and our needs, and keep shoving things down, pushing them down, whatever it is, and really like it's not important, right? The needs aren't important, but I want you to actually sit with. I feel like we're actually saying we are not important, okay? Our needs are not important. This and this and this is not important, but that's all the bottom line, okay? This is just my truth and what I've learned because I've done it with many things. And when we talk about needs, there's all kinds of needs, people, right? Uh Hierarchy of needs, like the shelter and all the different sorts of things. Sometimes I feel like we place like more importance on those things. Well, I have shelter, I have all those sorts of things that I need in my life, and maybe these emotional areas is just something I'm going to have to deal with, you know? And in the end, we're living with ourselves. At the end of the day, are you sitting there on the toilet or standing there? You are with yourself, right? So when you're not distracting yourself with things, you are living with yourself. So I have basically learned, and I can share with you that basically, while I feel like I've lived with pain my entire life and it is normal, that I've just found ways to manage the ups and downs. And I've grieved people that I don't talk to anymore, even though they're not physically dead. I feel like that they are, right? And just going through that whole thing of just hyper focusing on people. Like, if that's one thing my dad could have taught me, I wish he would have said that. Actually, he did say it, but I don't think he told me till later on. And so the hyper focusing, and that is a cultural thing. So even to be in a relationship where the two people are functioning, like kind of, I would say, like independently, like you're able to exist, on your own, but you are able still to come together and enjoy each other and enhance each other's lives, right? So that's for another show, but that's like the bottom line of like the focusing is like stop lying to ourselves, okay? And this person, we will say this is about a month ago, and this again goes beyond just being there for people. Yes, we should be there for people that are people, right? Or community or whoever it is, depends, but this goes beyond because again, I could relate the hyper focusing on people and what they're doing and what they're not doing, especially after something happens and they're gone after the 2 week mark. And I'll explain here in a minute. Okay, so the person and I were talking about, they made a comment. Um, this was about a month ago, and basically I reached out because I was kind of like, hey, she acquaintance friend, like, remember when we said we're gonna go get coffee? I I have time, like I can make time. I'm flexible. Like, do you want to do that sometime? Like it was basically that sort of a conversation. And they basically said, I know I'm not alone. And I thought, wow, okay, going through something right now, but they're going to have to learn on their own. Because I do feel like after that, too, we didn't reach out with each other. Just again, it just time was passing by. But that's the message that I got. They're going to have to learn on their own. Something's going on in there. And so this brought up the whole me too. I feel like this too. You're not alone, but you feel like you are alone. And whether it means you can't or don't want to share or whatever the situation is, just because you have the words, now that I have the words, doesn't necessarily mean, that I'm all good. It's a everyday inner struggle of just, I think for me, most importantly, the writing and talking on here. Even it's with myself, okay? So the same example could be used as you know that you are loved, but you don't feel like you are loved, right? Again, things to support. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a person. Sometimes it's not a person. It's going to your passion or your hobby or whatever the thing is that helps fulfill you inside. Okay? So basically, something happened a month later with this person, and it kind of shocked all of us. Not a death or anything like that, but basically making you go into those loops of like, oh my, like, okay, what happened? What's going on? And then I was like, it also reminded me of talking, who's also a medium, um, and a very good medium, conversationalist medium, and she was talking about how she's dealt with grief with people because she's foresaw certain things with them. And she said, basically, there's something about like this 2 week mark that everybody's checking in on you, everything's all good, and then all of a sudden it just stops. Why I bring that up is because if you are the person going through the issue, right, or the low point or whatever, or maybe you tried to make the attempt or whatever it is, right? And you notice this, it's like, what the fuck? Where did everybody go? Like, what's going on? Like, okay, am I back to square one? Can you imagine the thoughts that are going on in your mind? Where you felt all good and you felt loved and supported, and people wanted to know what happened to you or want to check in or bring you food or whatever it is, right? Low point. And they were like, the point is people get back to life, right? And maybe hopefully the closest, if it's only you have like one or two people that they are checking in on you. I just have to add in there why communities, these beautiful communities like my work, are very helpful because it's not all on one person. Not only just, I'm sure people that there are grief support groups with cool people in there you can relate to. You just have to be willing to try them, right? So having that support is nice, but don't rely on it and don't expect it, right? So now let's say this is you, right? And those people bounced out. And now you've got your one or two people that are checking in with you. Thank you very much. But now what? Now what are you going to do? Okay, this talk therapy. Maybe you go and find somebody cool and it's working for a while and all of that sort of stuff, but then you revert back. What about all of this situation? Right? So this is why I go back to the importance of holding your own and all of these different tools that are going to help equip you, because say you don't have your community, say you don't have your couple of people, now the what the fuck what, okay, now you're getting low again, maybe you're having suicidal thoughts, maybe you're having all of these sorts of things. So let's go ahead and say right here the tools I already talked about. Okay, so these are outside of talk therapy. On your own, writing, even if it's a couple sentences a day, reading specific books. Uh, there's so many things out there. I actually don't really know even what to tell you, other than like where to begin, other than beginning at the soul's journey and maybe researching older traditions of exactly that soul's journey. The Sufism, SUF as in Frank, ISM, Sufism, it's a mystical sort of a thing, but it kind of explains all of these deep and dark stages. Same thing as Carl Jung and human behavior and all of that sort of stuff. That's the direction that I would send you. And on a basic level, just working on yourself and what makes you unique and building your worth. And of course, I'm going to suggest some combative system styles. And then for actual healing on I was going to say healing with tools and techniques and those sorts of things, different modalities. There's the acupressure, there's, I already said sound healing, there's essential oils, there's flower essences, which is vibrational medicines, different than essential oils, no smell. Um, so many things out there, people. Color therapy, listening, and then again, listening to podcasts, finding that particular person that can help you out, and just, just listening to you. So let's say that right there. And also, what I wanted to include in here, maybe close out, is the judgment. Do not feel bad for having low moments, hitting rock bottoms, giving up maybe your faith in anything, if that's God or consciousness or source, giving up hope on yourself that there is no solution, or maybe you've tried a lot of things. And I just want to say again, going back to the cultural things that kind of disgust me, is that there's so much judgment specifically around this subject. And when you really get organized religion involved, I'm not saying anything new here, people. But what I'm saying is that don't feel bad. Don't feel like you're going crazy. Don't feel like you have a mental health issue unless it's starting to affect your life negatively. You are seeing dramatic changes in your behavior. Maybe you need to start documenting and or writing things down based on how you feel. Ask others what they have observed. Not everybody is going to show in their everyday behavior or out there in the world when something's wrong with them. In fact, a lot of people will just, maybe they even end up smiling most of the time. You just, that's the whole like, or smiling all the time, or posting happy pictures and all this sort of stuff, all these stories you hear, about people, and then all of a sudden you hear they're not here anymore. And first responders, the amount of things that they go through and what they see, if you're one listening to now, I can only imagine, because I've not gone through that, why it would make you want to feel like it's easier again to cut out of this life. And so to live another day, to find reasons to live another day and to thrive, that's another level of commitment, right? On another level, right? We could be dead and sleeping and it would be much easier. Okay, going back to the judgment thing. Not only don't be hard on yourself, but I think as a culture, having empathy for others in their situation and stop judging and saying things like they love to say. And I've never said this, so I'm going to say they as a culture. We as a culture, but they out there, because I don't think like this. Oh, those people are selfish. Those people aren't thinking about all the people they're going to leave behind. They're XYZ, right? That is they're going to hell. Jesus wouldn't want them to do it. Um, that goes against what God wants. Like, those sorts of comments are people putting their own experiences onto somebody else. It's kind of like the abortion topic, okay? Everybody has, yes, we all know everybody has an opinion, okay? And where I'm going with saying that is that this story is interesting, is that how can you judge somebody in this situation? A former vet, this was a couple of years ago, he had tried everything, nothing was working, he had PTSD, he wasn't sleeping, and this had gone on for I don't even know how many years. So basically he explained to his family and publicly, like, why he was bouncing out, like why he was leaving this life. And so to put a judgment, okay, so then the other example is my oldest brother. My mom had him when she was 14.